Hey y'all, Happy New Year. I wanted to put together a little video to anybody who is participating in the Buy Nothing Challenge with me this year, or to anybody who is even interested in reducing their spending or just being more conscious about their spending. And I have like a bunch of tips that I wanted to share. So the tips are too long for a reel and too short for a YouTube video, so I'm making an IGTV. But I hope this is helpful. I don't know if I shared this earlier, but I actually did a Buy Nothing month in January of 2021, so the first month of 2021, just to test it out, see if I could learn anything, see if how like tempted I was to spend on certain things that I didn't necessarily need. And I have a bunch of takeaways and some thoughts to share in case anybody else is looking for ways to make it a little bit easier for yourself, or just trying to not be tempted to spend, because as we all know, we live in a very consumerist culture, particularly on social media, where you see hauls and like people buying new clothing for every single different event, which is not really necessary for the most part. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I hope these tips are helpful to you. My first tip is one that I have found to be the most helpful for me, and not just in a Buy Nothing challenge, also just in everyday life as I'm trying to be a more conscious spender, is if you find a product, let's say you find a pair of pants or you find a dress or whatever it is. So let's say you find a dress from a shop and you are really excited to buy it, you want to buy it, but you're doing your Buy Nothing challenge. What I would do is I would go to that shop's Instagram page, go to like the view shop button on their page, find the product it is that you're interested in, and save it. It'll automatically save to your wish list on Instagram, and walk away from it. Don't look at it for a little bit. And then after a couple months, or after your challenge is finished, if you go back to your wish list, which you can find really easily on Instagram, and you see the item and it's still something that you're really interested in purchasing, something that brings you joy, or it fills a hole in your closet, then go ahead and buy it. But if it's not, if it's something that like you might have done on a whim, or might have saved on a whim, or something that doesn't really serve you anymore, then you can just unsave it. I think that is honestly one of my most helpful tips for myself that I have learned. And so would recommend not only just doing it during the challenge, but even after the challenge. It can be super helpful if you're trying to figure out whether it's something that you are really, really interested in, or you're just kind of like splurging on last minute. Okay, tip number 2 is to just unsubscribe from a lot of the email newsletters you get from brands that are selling clothing, or brands selling, whatever it is that you're refraining from purchasing during your Buy Nothing challenge, because it's so easy to just get tempted, like when there's a sale going on, and as we all know, there are very often sales happening like year round. So unsubscribe from them, or just like have it automatically get sent to your spam folder. Something so that you're not even necessarily tempted to open the email, because the more temptation, the more likely it is you're gonna break your challenge. So I challenge you to unsubscribe from those emails. And hopefully that can help at least a little bit. It really takes a lot, like you have to tackle this challenge from a lot of different angles, because we're so bombarded with consumption and media all the time, and it's just so prolific, it's everywhere. So that's one way to get your email inbox a little bit cleaner. And then moving on to tip number 3, in the vein of attacking the different media that brands can approach you through, my third tip is deleting shopping apps. I used to have Depop on my phone all the time, and then I think I've had some other apps before, and even the notion that there is like an app for a single brand, like I kind of get it for like secondhand purchasing, but like for one company to have their own app just so you can purchase clothes on there, kind of sus. Just go on their website. But during your buy nothing challenge, it can be really tempting to just like go to the app on your phone, or like let's say you get a notification from the app and there's a sale happening. Just eliminate the temptation. You can re-download it after the challenge ends and see how much of a difference it made for you, but that is definitely one opportunity for you to deleting it is going to be a good idea, at least for the time being. Tip number 4, and this one can also be temporary if it's not something that serves you outside of the challenge. Unfollow clothing brands or influencers or anybody or any account that is super tempting or shares a lot of sales or is not serving you at this time, or is like encouraging hyper consumption, just because I think one reason we are so often tempted to buy clothing is just because we see it on our feed, or we see we see a brand that we really love who is just like announcing a sale, or they're just like highlighting some of the things that they're selling. And I like with the buy nothing challenge, I like the notion of out of sight, out of mind, because if you're constantly being bombarded with it, then it's really going to be difficult to avoid like just how easy it is to purchase things, especially with everything online now. It's so easy to just buy something in a couple of clicks, and then you've just spent a lot of money, or you're consuming resources that you might not necessarily need to be. Tip number 5 is to do a little closet evaluation. I find this to be super helpful, especially as somebody who has curated more of a capsule wardrobe over the years, is to just understand what pieces you really love, what pieces you have in your closet that you wear on repeat all the time. See if you have anything missing, if there's something that's like you don't have in your closet and you've noticed that you wish that you had something like it. So for example, let's say you really want like a simple black skirt and you don't have any black skirts. Then after the buy nothing challenge, and spending this time like consciously not purchasing a black skirt, if it becomes even more evident that you really wish that you had this in your closet, then once the challenge is over, you just have that much more of a conscious purchase when you are spending, or when you are going ahead and buying that black skirt. So take some time to evaluate what you have in your closet, what brings you joy. Maybe take time to organize and try to sell or give away or donate the things that aren't bringing you joy anymore. I think the Buy Nothing Challenge is definitely a really cool opportunity to reflect on your relationship with your clothes, and the clothes that you already own, and better understand what you really love and kind of understand what you don't really love. So that is tip number 5. And tip number 6, last but not least, this is an optional one, but I think it's pretty interesting as well. Take some time to look at the last year and understand how much money you've spent on clothing in the last year. I keep like a monthly budget, and every time I spend on anything, I just track it. And so I took a look at how much money I spent in the last year just on clothing. And to give you some background context, I learned that the average single woman spends between $1,800 and like $4,500 on clothing just in 1 year. And in my spending, I saw that I spent in the last year like $1,400, which, not nothing. It's a good amount of money. But I know that I also spend very consciously, and I try to, save up for more ethical purchases that tend to be on a higher price. So yes, analyze your spending from the last year if it would be helpful to you, which I think it generally could. It could be a little bit of a wake-up call, if anything, if that's also something that you're trying to better understand, is like how much you are even spending. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely an optional one if you really don't want that negativity in your life. anyways, that is all of the tips that I have. So thank you for following along. Make sure to follow the hashtag spendingpending and use it if you post about it. I'll be resharing in my stories all of the cool outfits that you're already wearing with clothing that you love and you have cherished for a long time, or other tips and tricks that you all have. If you won't have any that you want to share, feel free to leave them in the comments, or tag me, whatever it is. But thanks so much, and happy not spending.